Yes, so we'll talk about some commonly asked tech questions. So before that, I'll show you this case study at the end. As of now, I'll just start with tech questions. So questions like, how does the web work? We did this in the last session, right, on Saturday. So how does a mobile app load? We've also done this. What are APIs, application programming interface? We've done this. Databases and SQL, I have, so next session we'll be talking about SQL only. And I think we just require 45 minutes or so to cover all the basic concepts of SQL that would be required at an APM level. So when we talk about these kinds of questions, right, all these tech questions are asked specifically, first of all, to product analysts, and second, they're asked to people interviewing in large companies like Google, Meta, and so on. So they are not asked at in startups. First of all, they're not asked in small, companies like or let's say, the Indian startups. Basically, they're not asked very frequently. But you can, if you talk about a Flipkart or a Meesho kind of company, then they would probably ask you some of these questions in the APM role or in the product analyst role. So that is there. These are not very, very important, but it is good if you know them. And these are a few books for these questions, right? Swipe to unlock. Has anyone read any of these? So Tech Simplified for PMs and entrepreneurs. And there's this playlist on YouTube. Software people go through the system design playlist by Gaurav Sen. So this is also helpful, but you don't need to do system design as of at this level, at the entry level stage, right? Okay. Any questions still here?
So, do you recommend reading these books at this stage?
So if you want to, let's say, try for Google APM or the top APM programs, then you definitely need to learn tech, this tech, system design, databases, all of that you need to learn. But if you're interviewing for Indian startups, right, or even small companies in India, then you can skip all of this. Just learn SQL, have a basic idea of all these 3 or 4 questions, and a basic idea of databases. I think that should do. I have not read any of these books, and I have not suffered, right, from not reading any of these. I have not learned. I have not gone through system design because that was not asked in any of my seniors interview also, and I didn't feel the need of doing so. Right?
Got it.
Um,
Thank you.
yes, and this is a summary of what system design questions are. So basically, questions like design an API, design an order inventory system, design a system and answer website like Quora, create a backend system. So these are design system design questions. Basically, you are designing some system, for example, an API you're designing. These are mostly common for software engineers and architects, but let's say at a senior level, senior product manager, lead product manager, these kinds of roles, you are expected to have a good understanding of system design as well. So at this stage, you don't need to do this, but at a later stage, or even for a product analyst role, it would help if you are doing all of this. There's this famous framework for answering system design interview questions called the pedals method. Right. I'll share this PPT with you. You can go through it. Right. Any questions? I think we are done here. We'll cover SQL in the next session. And I also take up this case study that I had skipped, right? Swiggy case study. So I wanted to cover this today, but it's already okay. Okay, 4. Okay, we have time till 4:45, right? All right, all right. I thought we need to end the session. All right, I'll quickly share my screen and show the Swiggy product analyst case study. Um, After 2 or 3 sessions, I'll also show what questions are asked in the Flipkart APM interview. And you will see that there are a few tech questions also. Some system design questions are also asked, right? API questions are also there. So for those kinds of structured interview processes, APM interview processes, you need to go through system design. All right. So when we talk about case studies, right, we need to understand that whatever we present must be, comprehensive, because we would just submit our deck. We would not be there to present it, right? So everything that you write in your deck, make sure that it is comprehensive. Even if you need to write complete sentences, you can do that. Otherwise, we just write down the points, right, and we explain it in the live presentation. But here you need to submit a deck. This is usually the first or the second round of your interview hiring process. So this was a case study that I had solved. The question that was asked to me was around Super Daily. So has everyone heard of Super Daily? Anyone can
Yes, sir.
explain? So can you tell what it is about?
So you can place a request late at night for stuff like milk, or if you want apples or something, and the next day they deliver that
Correct,
by early morning.
correct, correct. So basically, it's a subscription-based service, right? You can take a,
Yeah,
newspaper subscription. You can buy a milk subscription, right, or groceries, daily items that you require, daily need items. So that is what Super Daily does. So the question that was asked to me was that Super Daily looks to add daily or weekly newspapers or magazines to its subscription service. Let me show the question to you. So Swiggy was looking to add this. Super Daily was looking to add this item, magazines or newspapers, right? They were looking to add dailies, weeklies, or monthly magazines or newspapers to the subscription service. So they wanted me to understand and identify what would be the market size for this opportunity. And no more than 5 slides, all this criteria was there. Then there was this question also, but I chose to go forward with this. Right? This is, you usually get only one question, but here they had given a choice. People went for recurring meal delivery service, right? Market size for the recurring meal delivery service. Okay, then consider data available in public domains. These were some of the instructions that we got. And then customer UX, if we add some UI screens, that would help us get some brownie points. So that was this. Okay, this was the case study. And first I explained what Super Daily was, right? What was the goal? Now I've again followed something similar to the circles framework. I've written what is Super Daily, then I've identified the goal of Super Daily. How is it different from other similar players in the market? What is the USP, right? What is the problem, and what do they want us to solve for? What is the goal? Right? This is the goal of the company, and this is the goal of this problem statement. What they want us to do. What are the strengths? What are the opportunities? Right? Who are the competitors? All these stats. So that was the first slide. Then I went on to divide the problem into sub problems. So, for example, large number of newspapers to be delivered every morning without fail. Most of the newspapers are sold via subscription models, and that is where Super Daily can come in, because it also sells products basis a subscription model, right? For example, the daily need items, these daily dairy products, snacks and sweets, these kinds of items, right? Then I talked about the Indian newspaper market. What is the size of this market, right? How big is the magazines market? Because we just need to talk about newspapers and magazines, right? So that is the total market size. Then I designed a few UX wireframes. For example, if we introduce newspapers and magazines, it would come here like this. It would look like this, right? For example, you're getting the India Today subscription for 40 rupees, and this can be a weekly or a monthly subscription or a daily subscription, whatever. So these were some wireframes. Then next was the market size for newspapers. Now this was a placement hiring process, and this was sort of complicated. So we don't need to go into the details. I just want to present the basic thought process behind building this. So here I've identified the market size. I've divided the population, let's say, of Bangalore, right? We are just targeting, since Super Delhi is there in tier 1 cities only, we are just targeting tier 1 cities. So Bangalore is an example, a typical tier 1 city. And I've divided this down into various categories of people who can order newspapers, right? Or who can buy the newspaper subscription. Then this is a guesstimate, basically, right? All this is a guesstimate for the market size. So this is the total units bought for each of these categories. For example, millennials buy 1,50,000 newspapers. Then all these are some calculations. So I'll share this with you. You can take your time to go through this, understand this. This is not, you'll be able to understand this. This is a basic estimate. This is not very complicated. There's just a lot of text, so you will not be able to understand at one glance. Okay, then I've identified the total addressable market and serviceable addressable market and serviceable obtainable market. So this was TAM, SAM, SOMAR consulting concepts for identifying the market size. So I think this was the final answer, the market size that we need to target. Right, so this was a market size case study. This is not a product design or product improvement case study. So it is slightly different from the rest. You usually get a product improvement or product design case study. So Vedanta, it took me only around 30 hours, right? We didn't have a lot of time. We were under a strict deadline, so we had to work day and night for this. So we had only 2.5 days, something like that. 2.5 days. But yeah, you will be able to reach this level through practice. And this is not something you can't do. All right, we'll move back to tech questions. I think we have discussed them. I'll just look at it once more. Any questions till now? So we've covered system design questions. I've even suggested some books for tech. Next, we'll move to SQL. I'll just spend 10 minutes in giving you the introduction part. I'll not move into the interview questions for SQL. I'll just introduce the concept, the topic. So how many of you know SQL already? You can raise your hand. Okay, only 3 people. All right. So I'll anyway introduce this concept from scratch. So first thing is that this is structured query language, and you need to understand that this is used for querying a database. So for example, you need to manipulate a database. You have a very large database. You need to order something. Um, you need to make sure that everything is in place. Let's say this is a database for Flipkart, and all the data corresponding to Flipkart orders is there in this database. Now you need to just get the maximum number of items delivered per day in one day last year, right? Or you need to get which customer ordered the most, ordered the maximum number of times, right? You need to get all of this information. For that, you can query the database, which means that you can write a query which will return some number. And that is, for writing that query, SQL comes handy. There are various types of databases: relational, NoSQL, distributed, object-oriented. These are various types of databases, but we'll just focus on relational and NoSQL databases. In fact, NoSQL databases are also we mostly use relational. This is most common. So here data is stored in multiple related tables, just like Excel. And relational databases management system allows you to create, update, and administer a relational database. So basically, you are creating tables, you're updating them, you're creating new tables, linking together those tables, right, and making changes to those tables. All of these functions you are carrying out. That is RDBMS. And there's a defined schema, right? This is a row, this is a column. All this is predefined, right? So there's a predefined schema. Then this table may be linked to this one, right? This table may be linked to this one. Then all these things are there. But data in a NoSQL database doesn't have to conform to a predefined schema. So these types of databases are great for organizations who are wanting to store unstructured data. When we talk about structured data, it is usually tables, right? But when we are talking about unstructured data, it can be data in any form. Developers can make changes to the database on the fly. So this is NoSQL database. Then these are some popular databases: MongoDB, PostgreSQL, MySQL. You would come across some of these databases whenever you go for your job. This is an example of database. This is a relational database. So for example, this is a student table, and these are the fields that are there: ID, name, department name, total credits. Then there's a takes table, which takes the ID, course ID, section ID, semester, all of these fields. Then there's a section table. There's a course table, department. There's a teachers table also, classroom, instructor, prerequisites, time slot. And all of these are linked to each other. So for example, student is linked to the department through department name, right? Then instructor is linked to the department of the instructor is linked to the department table. So if you link one table to another, there is a particular field. So basically this table itself is not linked. This field is linked to this table, right? So what do we call this? We call this a primary key, and we call this a foreign key. So here, let's say the department name is linked to the department name in this table. So this would be primary key here, and this department name field would be a foreign key, right? So this primary key, foreign key concept is also frequently tested. You need to know what is a primary key, foreign key. All right. So this is the basic understanding of databases. Now when we move to SQL, we talk about the functions that are commonly used. For example, select query, where function, insert into. These are common functions. And these are common operators. Then there are joins. All of these are concepts you need to learn in SQL. You can leave advanced SQL All the other things are very easy, and you need to know all of this. Okay, so if we talk about each of these, I'll move to a cheat sheet next in the next session, and we'll talk about each of these in detail. What is the select query? What is the where function? Then what is this function? All of this we'll discuss in detail. Right. Okay. Any questions still here? Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we can end the session here. We'll move to, like, we will discuss SQL in detail in the next session. We'll talk about these functions, and we'll talk about joins also. This is the most important, most frequently asked interview question in SQL, right? Types of joins. And yeah, then we'll talk about mock interviews. So next session would be SQL mostly. All right. Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we can end the session here.